Biography of Taqiyuddin Syami. His full name is Taqiyuddin Muhammad ibn Ma'ruf. He was born in 1526 and he died in 1585. He come from descendant Ayyubiyah. Next, we will proceed to his background. Taqiyuddin's education started from theology, and as it developed, he would be interested in the rational sciences. Following his interest, he would begin to study the rational sciences in Damascus and Cairo. During that time, he studied with his father, Ma'ruf Effendi. Later, he taught at various schools and served as qadi or judge in Palestine, Damascus, and Cairo. He lived in Egypt and Damascus for some time, and during his time there, he created work in astronomy and mathematics. He became the Sultan's chief astronomer in 1571, a year after he came to Istanbul and replacing Mustafa ibn Ali al-Muwaqqit. Then, he continued his studies at the Galata Tower. His study continued until 1577 in an almost complete observatory, which called Dar al-Rasad al-Jadid. He also known as one of the greatest engineers of all time. Besides that, Taqiyuddin Syami is proficient in many fields. He specialized in astronomy, mechanics, physics, mathematics, biology, pharmacy, psychology, philosophy, and last but not least, theology.
Hi friends! There are a few years that can be immortalized for Taqiyuddin Syami. In 1551, the construction of steam engines and steam turbines. In 1570, Sultan Uthmaniyah Murad III invited Taqiyuddin to build the Constantinople Observatory. A year after that, he became a chief astronomer as for replaced Mustafa ibn Ali al-Muwaqqit. A few years later, in 1577, Taqiyuddin Syami finished his studies at Galata Tower. In 1579, the Observatory of Constantinople, known as Dar al-Rasad al-Jadid, is closed. And lastly, in 1580, the observatory was demolished.
Now, let's see what were Taqiyuddin Syami's contributions in Islam. Taqiyuddin Syami contributed a lot for Islam, especially in astronomy, mechanical, physics, mathematics, biology, pharmacy, philosophy, and theology. One of his greatest contributions was the creation of telescope. Before this, we just know that telescope first discovered by Hans Lippershey on 1608 century or by Galileo Galilei on 1609 century. But then, there was a new fact that Taqiyuddin Syami were the first one who discovered telescope. However, this fact still need more research in it. Another contribution was the creation of steam engines and steam turbines with practical application of self-rotating speed. Next, Taqiyuddin Syami also created water pump with 6 cylinders. It is also known as monoblock. Moreover, he also created world's first mechanical alarm clock using his exceptional knowledge in the mechanical arts. Taqiyuddin Syami also created the world's first astronomical clock. It was made in order for him to be able to take more precise measurements from his observations done at the Constantinople Observatory. Next, he also constructed a clock and watch with 3 dials which show the hours, minutes, and seconds, each minute consisting of 5 seconds. And lastly, One of his most important contributions was the creation of Istanbul Observatory. In fact, it is known as one of the largest observatory in Islamic history.
Let's move on to the new section. Now, let's talk about the books published by Taqiyuddin Ashami. We start with the first book known as Al-Kawakib Al-Daruriyah fi Wad Al-Bankamat Al-Dawriyah. This book is about mechanical clock construction. Second, we have Al-Turuq As-Samiyah fil Al-Ala Al-Ruhaniyah that explains the self-spinning that is important in the history of web turbines. Next, we switch to a book which tells us about astronomy called Sidrat Muntaha Al-Afkar fi Malakut Al-Falak Al-Dawar. Besides that, we have a book titled Jaridat Al-Durar wa Qarida Al-Fikr as Taqiyuddin's second most important work in astronomy, and he also published a book that focusing on the spherical projection into the plane called Dustur Al-Tarjih Liqawa. Not only that, there was a book entitled Raihana Al-Ruh fi Rasam Al-Sa Al-Ala Mustawi Al-Sutu, which discussed the sundial and their features painted on the surface of the marmar. And lastly, we have Nawar Harikat Al-Absar wa Nur Haqiqat Al-Anzar, which discuss about physics and optics.